You see a lot of the people out there that seem to be getting misled by the things that they're seeing online. Well, that's only going to increase, and I'll give you some tips and tactics you might be able to offer yourselves, your family, those people in close proximity with you to maybe stay away from this, and covering some areas that you might not actually realize AI has become involved in. Now, I speak about AI as if it's its own consciousness, its own entity with its own goals. And that's not the case, at least as far as we know. And that's kind of a slippery slope because we know probably very little as the inner workings. You can see all the people talking about what they consider P doom, which is potential doom. So we see people talking about that end of the AI spectrum where it's basically going to do us all in. And then we see people talking about the other end of the AI spectrum where it's going to equate to this utopia of sorts, a place where we will all be so incredibly happy, fulfilled, and really do anything that we want to do. That's the two ends of it. And then, of course, most of us fall somewhere in the middle. Maybe I would like to believe that it's the utopia thing that's going to happen. And then some other people are, they're 100% P doom. Oh, regarding P doom, a potential doom, they'll give levels 100%. It's going to do us in no matter what. And then zero, of course, you have no belief that it will do anything harmful to humans. So talking about AI fakes, the deep fakes and stuff out there, one of the things that we're seeing is the system. It's not really the systems themselves. It's the training that the systems go through. It's their alignment. It's the information and the work that's done on the unit to train it. And I know Mo Godwat, which is one of the AI architects from back in the day, he came out with a story that really made a lot of sense. It really resonated with home. And it's Superman, the story of Superman. You have an alien coming to Earth as a small child, and you have the Kents who happen to pick him up in the middle of Kansas. And they're the ones that became his parents. They were his role models. They were the ones that he trusted. They gave him the alignment. They brought him up. And that's how most of the kids work. And, in some cases, you might bring them up to the best of your ability, and then they go on their own tangent and go off the rails, and who knows where that goes. But you track back, and of course we all blame ourselves for it. We say, oh my God, I must have done this, done that. But realistically, in most cases, it's not that. They're independent human beings. You train them up into a point, you give them the education, you give them the nurturing, give them the love, you give them whatever you're able to give them up into a certain point, and then they start to make their own decisions. They start to make their own determinations. They start to set their own goals. And then from that, they achieve those goals, depending on maybe some of the influence you had, some of the influence bad people had, good people had, and so on. That's where artificial intelligence is, and that's where Superman was. He was actually aligned with people that had good values. I'm not saying that it wouldn't have turned out another way, but that's the case. So if you equate artificial intelligence to Superman, you can see that the Kents really had a good thing in mind. And hopefully the developers and builders of the AI technology, the people that are aligning it and putting all the data into it and then double checking the data and correcting it when it comes out with something bad or something that's going to be harmful to the human race, hopefully that they make that adjustment and they align it properly because their intentions are pure. Human beings, well, we'll have to see what happens. Could you imagine if Superman might have been picked up by Lex Luthor if he was of age, let's say? You imagine that's the villain in the Superman universe, Lex Luthor. What if he raised him? Well, then Superman probably would have been bad. And of course, there is a chance that he wouldn't have been because sometimes kids that have bad parents or bad influences, they go completely the other way. Parents that spank and discipline their children, even beat and drink and this. Sometimes the kids don't touch alcohol. They don't touch cigarettes. They don't ever touch their kids. They do the timeout phase, these sorts of things. So who knows how that would have turned out? But I will tell you with artificial intelligence, it seems like this is that same kind of entity. And we're very hopeful that it's going to turn out okay. And it's probably too late to put it back in the box. So talking about your social media streams, your kids' social media streams, if you have them, they have particular devices, your family. If you're in your family, you sit at home and your significant other is just constantly scrolling and you're kind of set apart and you're watching as if you're having an out of body experience. And that's that moment that they're probably hooked, that dopamine spike that they're getting from every, 4 or 5 photos or 4 or 5 streams or TikTok posts or Instagram or Facebook, whatever the stories, or YouTube shorts, whatever that may be. And that's why they went to the short format, because us human beings, my generation, at least at 56, we at least have a remembrance, a memory of it taking time for us to have to do something critical. We couldn't do it right away. There was no instant gratification. We had to hold off and wait until we got home to make the phone call. Now, a lot of us didn't use pay phones, but you could have. But back then, if you remember, maybe you don't, but ask somebody of my generation about long distance. Oh my God, it was so expensive. So even when you went to a payphone, it was compounded. So you went to the payphone, you would be feeding quarters into this machine. Of course, they didn't have credit cards. They were coin operated. Yeah, believe it or not. But that's how that worked. So if you needed to make even a local call, sometimes it wasn't just a quarter. You had to put, a $1.50 into it. So in most cases, we waited to get home. There wasn't that instant gratification where we needed it right now. But right now, you ask a question, you get the answer. You want to know what Black Label is because somebody mentioned it. Boom, you can find out right away. You don't have to go to another source. You can go to your cell phone. You can ask one of the large language models, even Google. Now it's got that AI architecture overlay. That is something that you can ask. So back to AI, back to deepfakes, and back to that particular world. I will tell you that the systems themselves potentially aren't malignant or bad, but they are created with a particular set of data. Some good, some bad. Now, where does that come in? Is there some overall good? Is there some, good power in the universe versus an evil power in the universe? Is everything aligned correctly? Or is there some weight that's given to one side or another? Or is the universe actually neutral? Doesn't really care positive or negative. It just falls in line with its equilibrium or some happy, steady state. Don't know. But ultimately, we're going to watch as AI continues to be developed. And what I'm going to talk about today is humans being in the loop and potentially using artificial intelligence to take advantage, which is different than a show that I will do in the future. If you're interested on artificial intelligence itself going bad and doing this on purpose in order to maybe stifle us or stop us from getting our fingers in, in basically its pie that it's trying to make for itself. And that would be once it becomes self-aware and once it becomes conscious, which is something else. And I'll mention this just briefly. Consciousness. We believe we're conscious. We could probably say that a frog is conscious, or a dolphin is conscious, or a whale is conscious. Now, do they have that same communication method? Are they able to sit and reflect and wonder what I'm going to be next week or next year, or in the next 20 years, how my life is going to end up? How am I going to be able to plan for my business? How am I going to be able to make things better? Are they able to do those kind of thoughts? I don't know. Is that what differentiates, conscious from non-conscious? I don't know. Is the soul involved? Is that part of consciousness? Whatever it is, human beings are easily tricked. We're easily fooled. We're easily manipulated. Some of us more than others, but ultimately you see where I'm getting. You have something that is made, that has been created, this artificial intelligence that is smarter than us in most respects, at least now. And of course, present company is included in that. But now it's going to become even smarter. And that particular intelligence is doubling every 5.7 to 5.9 months, depending on who you're watching, who you're listening to. As of August of 2025, at least what I feel, it seems like, and watching some of the different podcasts out there by the quote unquote experts, it seems like artificial intelligence might have started to self-improve, started to maybe have particular goals, making itself faster, itself better, and refining its processes so it's able to be more driven, it's able to accomplish goals quicker. Hopefully those goals will always be in alignment with humans. But again, that's something that's going to have to be watched. But as of now, people are taking artificial intelligence and they are using it to mislead people. And here's some of the ways that it's happening. So you have the AI generated social profiles. That's something that's going to really, really take off in the near future, because if you've seen the 8 videos and you've seen that guy that cusses a lot, that talks about what the F is escrow or what the F is buying a house like, that cat, Those are all AI generated systems. In some cases, users, us, this is like Tron, right? But users are going to build AI agents, which a lot already have. This isn't something that I'm speaking as if it's science fiction. It's actually science fact. So they're going to build an actual AI system that's going to generate fake accounts, AI driven accounts that are going to do all the research necessary and come up with the best content and just create the whole thing, build a channel off of it, monetize it, and then, of course, move forward, do it again, do it again, do it again. So the system's able to do that. Part of that, you're going to have fake influencers. You have fake friends. I know a lot of people that comment, the 3 people that comment on my YouTube videos, maybe 1 or 2 of those are bots. They're not actually real. So these are things they're going to build entire communities to gaslight and normalize particular scams out there for. Watch out. If you see your favorite influencer like Joe Rogan talking about crypto or any of the other different financial models out there wanting you to, bail him out of an El Salvadorian prison, maybe it's not Joe Rogan. So before you start sending money to people, and I know one of the cats that I watch as well, he was also hacked in that regard. And there's attorneys are involved in every layer of this. Somebody goes out there, they put out fake information. That poor lady that, is on her last paycheck in the trailer park, sending that preacher in the middle of the night the money so they can make up with it. That's different. But somebody getting fooled or thinking they're giving money to something else, yeah, that's somewhat enforceable, especially if the person asking for it isn't actually that person and somebody made up by someone else. Now, the enforcement mechanism for this is probably rather difficult because a lot of this isn't happening where you can go and you can, bang on the door at some house in Missouri and pull the people out because they were the ones that, created the scam. More than likely, this is going to be other countries, but of course it happens here domestically. But before you jump into anything, before you start giving your credit card out and before you start giving money, you want to check that out. So give this to your family and make sure they understand it. Now, hyper-personalized phishing or spear phishing. So AI writing tailored emails or messages using public data to increase trust and lower suspicion. So a lot of times they're not going to go in and just, want to take you into the bedroom on your first date. They're going to go nice and slow. They're going to start it with, maybe we should have coffee. So it's going to get your trust with an email, and it's going to sound like it has a reputation. It's going to be verified. They might also put the background in place on the internet, maybe build some kind of a fake website that talks about it to gain your trust. And then it's going to ask you for money. So watch out for these sorts of things. If you're getting notifications by PayPal, for example, you're getting notifications by these other big money vendors, Stripe, you need to really make sure that's who it is, especially when they're asking for some kind of account access. Or if somebody gets on the phone with you, a real human being, whether accent or not, that really is not the differentiation point, because I've talked to many people that were legit, real representations of companies that had an accent. So you got to throw that one aside. But you need to find out who they actually work for, and you need some kind of verification. A lot of times when people call, they're going to say this call is being recorded. And you know what's funny? When you tell them, I can't have my voice recorded, a lot of them just stay on the phone because that's a lie. They know that this call is being recorded. Saying that little piece of information creates confidence in the person being called. Believe it or not, it doesn't throw them, if it's not being recorded, well, maybe it's a scam. But if they're calling up and saying this call is being recorded, well, somebody can verify this. The authorities can check. So don't fall for that either. If you then tell them I can't have my voice recorded and they continue, it's a scam because they can't. It's against the law for them to continue after they've notified you and they keep recording and after you've turned them down. So watch out for that. So we have fake news, manipulated evidence, altering images, video to influence public opinion, harass, or extort. Yeah, you see that. So I'll be watching the news feed, and it might have some particular story, and then a few news feeds later, I'll see something that's very different, and it looks like it's the same clip, except the mouth has been manipulated, but it's still using this character's voice, this official's voice, but it's saying something totally different than the original broadcast that I saw. And even that should be called into question. Whenever I'm watching YouTube videos or whenever I'm trying to learn about some particular subject, I use a lot of Notebook LM. I don't know if you do that. That's a Google product. It's fantastic. It's free. And you can actually punch in a YouTube video if you're trying to learn something. So I'm learning everything I can about AI security, AI safety in my business, Santa Clarita Artificial Intelligence.com. Selfish plug, sorry. But I'm trying to learn all these things and I use these, but I also want to learn that from verified sources because I don't want to fall into this mess of learning something bad, then passing that on to you. And then now we're all being idiotic. So we have to be careful. All right. So here's something else that's really big happening: synthetic testimonials and reviews. So Yelp is a big review site. I know that in the real estate world, Zillow carries a lot of reviews. Google carries a lot of reviews. I know they're going to probably do their best to limit the amount of fake reviews, but it's going to be so overwhelming. I don't believe it's going to stop. And in fact, I don't trust a lot of the review sites anymore because if, there's extortion there, there's blackmail there. If you don't pay, they will, blow up your reputation online in a bad way. If you pay, they won't put it there. It's like these different casinos having their computer systems being held hostage. They pay the ransom because they're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars a day by not paying it. So for them chipping out a couple $100,000 just to get their system back and then to hire somebody to come resecure it, so hopefully it doesn't happen again, that's worth it to them. That blows my mind, but it's happening on that mega level, like billions of dollar level, but it's also happening millions of dollars probably, but it's also happening on our level. So when somebody is trying to get information from you, calls you up, tells you that they represent some credit card company or something else, you really need to make sure they are who they are before you start giving out sensitive information, especially when they're calling up, well, I need your address. Well, you called me. Why should I give you? Well, I need to verify who I'm talking to. Well, that's not how this works. You called me. How do I verify who I'm talking to? I know it feels like you're going to be, fighting with everybody that calls, but it is your money. It is your life. And you have to watch out for that. All right. So conversation scripting and role play. So they use AI to generate convincing scripts and adapt replies in real time. That's a big deal. Automated cell response systems. AI assists local social engineers to sound more believable or supply on the fly lies. So watch out for that as well. A lot of people are using a lot of text messaging. My phone, I mean, I get an inordinate amount. The toll-free numbers, just to kind of throw this out here because I build this voice AI for people and their businesses. So the toll-free numbers don't require something called A2P qualification. You don't have to register a toll-free number. So if you're getting text messages from toll-free numbers, I mean, there might be some verified, but just be wary. If you're getting a text message from a local number, it might also not be A2P verified, where actually it has a real individual on the other end of it. It could also be spam. So any text message you have to be wary of. Now, whenever somebody's sending you a text message, you can, of course, report spam or block it, but just be wary on the information you give up, any information you provide. If they want credit card numbers or account numbers or dates of birth or social security numbers, I think we're better than that. But if you think that that's okay, tell them you need to call me. You need to, send me an email. I need to verify this more before you give out the information. Nothing is that tragic. I don't believe anything comes to a moment where they're going to shut off your life because you failed to respond in a timely order so you could then verify. All right, scam automation and scale. AI generates thousands of messages tailored to subgroups, overwhelming human ability to vet. That's true. They're able to do it. I was talking yesterday on my AI podcast about artificial intelligence. So the biggest difference in this mechanism is once if it does get to this superhuman level intelligence, which it's smarter than most at this point, but if it gets up to, way past the smartest people on the planet that have ever been or ever will be. Let's say it gets to 300 IQ. Einstein was in the 160s, apparently. So let's say it gets double that, which isn't going to be a problem, which might actually be this year, early next year. I don't know what that looks like, but let's say it gets to that point. What's going to end up happening is it's able to make copies of itself. So there's one agent, one AI agent that has this IQ. It can make a million of those AI agents and send them out to accomplish different tasks. What's the most concerning part of that, and also beneficial if you look at it, but it could also be concerning, each one learns from the other. So if one of them goes out and is in robot form, inside embedded into the robot, stubs its toe on some kind of a micro step, it now educates everybody. If they're out in the combat field and one of them gets overcome by the enemy, whatever that means, and the enemy's able to get a kill by surprise or by some kind of ploy or plot, some kind of plan, all of the other millions of bots then become immediately updated. So now they'll never make that mistake again. So as far as this particular moment, AI is as bad as it will ever be. It's constantly improving. So again, not to be dystopian or freak anybody out, but just we're doing something that I'm not sure we should be doing. But right now, there's not a lot of checks and balances, at least from what I see. But as I mentioned earlier in the show, we don't know what the inner secrets or inner workings of these companies are and what they're battling on the inside of it. But I do know AI itself has been known to mislead. They call it hallucinating, where it really doesn't give you an honest answer, or because of its programming or the data set that it's learned from, might be somewhat restrictive, somewhat racist, somewhat angry, somewhat, misogynist, somewhat whatever it is. It's that data set that it's used. Just back to the Superman analogy, Lex Luthor is his parents, a whole different Superman versus the Clarks and an actually good Superman. All right, so data mining, persuasion optimization, AI finds emotional levers. This is where it's really going to flourish and thrive. People using it to hit you emotionally. Right now in your stream, that's really what's going on. If you are somebody that is on the left or the right, usually that's what your stream is made up of. That's all the information you're seeing. Now, you might get a little left in there just to kind of excite you and get you a little angry, get your blood pressure up. That's the dopamine hit. But most of it's going to be in alignment with what you like to see. Now, if you want to run a little test, go opposite of what you are. So if, let's say, you're an ultra conservative and you think Newsom is the worst governor in the world, just for a little while, start to like and start to say, great job, I hope you're the next president, to Newsom, and watch how your feed changes. All of a sudden, you're going to be in there with people that are just like that, aligned in that way. And do it the opposite. Let's say you love Newsom, you think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Go against him a little bit when you're responding. Go talk in a negative way versus a positive, and you'll watch your whole stream modify. And it just takes a very short amount of time. They're feeding us this information, and from there, they're able to manipulate and maybe realign us at a particular point. All right. So who's targeted? Organized by age. So this is something I put together as well. So children under 13, the methods for children under 13, the way that people use AI to go after them: fake friend accounts, in-game scams. So if you have your kids on your phone, let's say you pass your kids your phone, you pass your kids your iPad, or they have their own, and they're playing one of the Disney games out there, just be wary. And of course, we want to think that Disney would never do anything bad, but a lot of those games are being now integrated with artificial intelligence because it's kind of the wild, wild west. What if they were able to put a game out there that was able to get those kids to really love Disneyland and want to go spend money at Disneyland when they become adults? The long range plan, right? Now they'll lean on their parents, buy me Mickey, buy me Minnie, buy me this, buy me that. But in the future, they're able to basically program these children that they're going to love Disneyland. They would do anything for Disneyland. They'll live and die for Disneyland. Maybe that's an extreme, but it could be something very relevant. The kids that are under 13, they're getting exposed to this, whether whether you know about it or not. So you need to pay more attention if, in fact, you want them not to have as much exposure. Again, yesterday on yesterday's show, the folks, the tech people in Silicon Valley, you should do some research. See how often they let their kids play on social media. They don't. Most of their kids don't have phones. Peter Diamandis, a cat that I listen to, he's Moonshots. You look that one up on YouTube. His kids, I think, are 15-ish, maybe 16. They don't have phones. They don't have iPhones or Android. They don't have phones. And so the phone is where you get access. I'm not talking about a burner phone, like we would buy if we were trying to do some kind of a drug deal, but I'm talking about an actual phone that has the internet, that's able to, stream videos, stream content, go to all the social media platforms. They don't allow them to have them. So that's the people that are in tech. So all of us other people, we're a bunch of sheep, firing them off with our kids. So be wary with that. Now, they're going to groom children using AI personas. Why vulnerable? Gullibility, of course, lack of skepticism, and they're using a lot of their time online. They're staying on games. They're doing these sorts of things. So I know it's so easy just to pass it and say, God, I just had a long day. Just go. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can go ahead and go online or whatever. There's a lot of regret sometimes in those decisions. So know that. All right, here's my cop tip. You want to definitely restrict your kids' friends list. You want to keep devices out in the open. Don't let them walk in and put their phone face down. That's not your world. That shouldn't be their world. It should be completely open. You should be, hey, let me see your phone. Hey, let me see your phone. That should start at the beginning. So if you haven't had kids yet, you need to start that. Whatever the device is, let me see your glasses. I don't know what it's going to be. Let me see your watch. Let me see your arm. Let me see your hand. However it's going to be integrated into the system, you need to be able to completely have access to that so you can watch. There should be no secrets from you. Don't start early. And if they're doing something they shouldn't be, don't beat them up about it. Accept it and explain why this is bad. Educate them on that realm. If you start to punish too quickly, they're going to turn the opposite way and they're going to try to do it behind your back. They're going to go to their friends. I mean, that's a big thing with guns back in the day. They're going over to a friend's house. Oh, look, my dad's got this great gun. Let's play with it. Oh, what a nightmare. You know what happens with that. So same thing. They're going to go to their friend's house and they're going to look at it. Again, you got to be that parent. You still got to be the enforcer, but there is a way to do it. Read some books on that. All right. So 13 to 18 teens method, deepfake, revenge porn threats. That's a big deal. There's a lot of money thrown out there. And now you can take a picture of somebody and have a body superimposed and have them doing all sorts of things. And there's a lot of money exchanging hands with regard to that. And now there's laws against that. But still, I mean, how detrimental to a kid. That's horrible. And again, it's the wild, wild west. So watch out. You got to keep your kids close. Fake influencers pushing dangerous challenges. Yeah, that's you see the Jackass franchise, and then there's other things out there where they're doing crazy stuff. And of course, people are seeing maybe somebody fake, lighting themselves on fire, and they say, well, they survived it. It wasn't a big deal. All we have to do is do what they did, cover ourselves with aluminum foil, and that'll work. Yeah. Again, watch your kids. Impersonation for social pressure. And why vulnerable? You have social validation, of course, risky sharing. They're very impulsive. The older I get, the more pause I have before I act. Cop tip, normalize reporting, use school outreach. Emphasize screenshots, saved evidence. I know that there's some apps out there that the kids are using that have images or things that appear on their phone, and then they basically, you can't see them again. It only comes in for that moment. Then it goes away and it's unretrievable. That's screenshot time. So if you're giving your kids that education, say if somebody sends you something sketchy, be ready on the trigger so you can take a picture so you can provide it to your parents or the authorities. All right. So young adults, 18 to 30. Yeah. Dating apps, catfishing with AI enhanced images. That's a big deal. You've probably seen that. Job scams, crypto investment fraud using synthetic endorsements. I mentioned this earlier. Joe Rogan, for example, or Diary of a CEO or Diary of an Entrepreneur, Diary of a CEO. Anyway, that cat, he got hacked pretty good. those types of messages out there you have to watch out for and keep your family safe. Why are they vulnerable in that age group, 18 to 30? They're moving fast. Money, relationships, truth and digital validation. They want to find their significant other. The cop tip on that, you want to verify screen share calls, double check job offers via independent company contracts. So you have them send you something so you can verify it. Adults 30 to 60, here we go. Methods. So they usually come after those in our age group: business, email compromise, CEO fraud using voice or video, fake legal notices, manipulated investment pitches. And we're vulnerable because we have authority bias. There's time pressure on us and work and financial exposure. And from a cop's perspective, I would say never authorize transfers based solely on a call or a video. Use known callbacks, and also get some kind of secondary verification. Remember when I said earlier about somebody calling you and then saying that the call is recorded, and then you responding with, I can't allow you to record me. You do not have my permission. And they just continue going. They didn't shut it off. They can't shut off the recording mechanism at a real company when it is recorded on the phone. But if they keep going, there's a problem. All right, so let's move on to 60s, the seniors, 60 plus age group. This is the highest risk group, believe it or not. And I'm right there. I'm 56, so I'm 4 years from that. Methods. So they do a lot of grandparent scams using voice cloning. They'll take a voice of a grandkid that they picked up on TikTok or Instagram or wherever, Tinder, wherever they happen to be. Is that even, I don't know. But anyway, they'll pick up the voice and they'll use that and they'll clone it. They don't need much. They need just about that. That's all they need. And then they'll be able to take that, they'll clone the voice, and then they use the IRS. So they use voice cloning. Then they make a phone call, needing some money. Please, Western Union, please send me, please help me, please do this. And they'll pull on the heartstrings of the grandparent. And the grandparent should, at that moment, even if the threat sounds imminent, you might want to verify it. Call somebody's parents, somebody else. I mean, if it's just them and you in the world and you're their main guardian, that's a tough one. That's a tough place to be. But, try to do your best. I understand it. I'm not going to say don't do this, don't do that, but understand it's a game. In some cases, IRS utility scams using AI scripts, that's a big deal. Fake caregiver profiles, putting out there that they offer these kind of services. Romance scams with synthetic images, of course. So why vulnerable over 60? Social isolation, lower digital literacy, high trust and authority. At 56, learning this, oh my God, it's an everyday thing. It's really a task. Now I enjoy it, but just trying to keep up with all the changes, it's amazingly difficult. A lot of people I talk to in the boards of realtors meetings, talking to agents, talking to local businesses about integrating AI into their business, how to best, build these funnels that are going to be most attractive. All the things that I do, they don't know very much at all. In fact, a lot of the people I talk with have had very little interaction. They haven't gone down the Superman route. They haven't gone down the fake AI scam route or the fake reviews route, or watching out for the family, or realizing that a game that their 6-year-old has on their iPad is grooming them in some particular way because it's infused with AI. Cigarettes were accepted as being okay for a long time, till they found out they killed people. There you go. All right. So that's, you got that. So as far as the 60-year-olds, cop tip from them: outreach through local community centers, bank implementing friction on large transfers. Of course, somebody that's a senior going into a bank and wanting to withdraw their life savings, maybe there should be a couple more questions. I know I get irritated if somebody asks me why I want, $100. Am I going to go gamble? But maybe that should be part of that process. Family safety plans as well. Plan this out. Talk to those that are closest to you. Talk to your loved ones. Develop some kind of a word. But if you're going to develop some kind of a phrase or a secret word or a secret face or a secret response, maybe you've never had a dog. Maybe you say, hey, how's Lucky doing? Talking about a dog. Maybe that's your I'm in lots of trouble phrase. When you call up, is that Lucky barking in the background? Straight up Terminator. But if you do develop a phrase like that, it can't be spoken in front of anything that's listening. Everything listens. iPhone listens, Alexa, Google, voice, All of those devices listen all the time. You start talking about Charmin toilet paper. Here it goes. I just mentioned it. Everything's listening. I'm going to see Charmin toilet paper showing up in my feed, advertising to me to buy Charmin because it's triple ply and the Bears use it. The Bears use Charmin? All right. So watch out for that. So prepare, explain to your people, maybe get a certain phrase. But if somebody gets it, if the AI gets it, it's going to use it. It's going to retain it. Now, non-native speakers, this is cross-cutting vulnerable groups. So non-native speakers, watch out. People with cognitive impairment, those in financial stress, always looking for some kind of savior. High trusting local circles, people seeking quick solutions, dating, money, legal help, and so on. So red flags that I think I'll explain to you here. Urgency and secrecy. It's an emergency. Don't tell anyone. That's classic social engineering. So if you hear that, if it's an unusual channel that you're getting a message on, your boss texts a payment request on WhatsApp. Yeah, maybe if they don't do that, check that out. Small verification failure, slight voice trembles, differences, odd phrasing, wrong personal details. You say how you're doing. Oh, fine. Just got back from vacation, but they were in their office all last week. Maybe something going on. Too good to be true. That's a big one. We all love too good to be true. We all want it to be true. But unsolicited prize offers with very minimal effort, just send us this and we'll give you this. But, send us this personal information. Pressure to move money. Requests that push for instant wire transfers, gift cards, and of course, crypto. Watch that. Mismatch across media. Video saying one thing while the same name shows a different tone or grammar. I pointed this out earlier, having one of the big influencers out there talking about something that they normally talk about, but then they're off on a tangent talking about something else that doesn't sound like them. Be wary. Requests for secrecy or isolation. Don't tell your family, or insistence on private chat apps. Teach each other these things. Talk to your family about these. In the movies, they say, well, if you tell the cops, we're going to, I don't know if anybody survives the "or we're going to" thing ever. So why not tell the cops? If they say, well, if you bring in the cops, we're going to kill all these people. I've never seen in the movie that come out okay. It really doesn't. If it comes out okay, it's just a big batch of luck. Most of the time, it ends in bad. So you might as well have all the cops getting bad too. You might as well throw all the authorities in on it. I mean, go on TV. There was Ransom with Mel Gibson. Yeah, that was the deal. Interesting, right? But something to think about. All right. So law enforcement investigation consideration. So from my vantage point, how you can best protect yourself, look at it this way. Evidence collection. This is important. So if somebody's scamming you and you've given in, you're going to want to kind of record that process. Even if you think it's verified, at least try to get some stuff taken. So preserve the originals if you can, full headers, timestamps, and device metadata. So screenshots are helpful, but they're not sufficient. Print screen stuff, save stuff on your hard drive. But those screenshots, they're just not great because you can make pretty much anything now very simply just by having Canva or one of the other apps do it. So you need original stuff. Chain of custody. I'll encourage you to report early. Rapid takedowns are sometimes possible if evidence is preserved. Attribution limits. AI output obscures origin. Know that identifying the human operator often requires subpoenas, logs from platforms, and cooperation with providers. Victim-centered approach. Scams harm more than money. So you got your emotional trauma, embarrassment, build trust, and make reporting a low barrier. It's like people talking about, if you want to get fast cash, you go rip off a drug dealer because they're not going to call the cops and say, hey, all my drug money was stolen. They go after people that, they're able to create this emotional trauma, naked pictures, share with me a pic of yourself. And then all of a sudden they're sending it to all of your social media or threatening to, unless you send them some money. Same thing with the camera on your computer. There are certain entities that are able to flip the switches on these. So if you don't do anything bad at your computer all day long, great. But if you're going to find yourself in a compromised situation, hint, hint, wink, wink, you might want to make sure everything's covered so nothing is recording you at when you don't know it and then using that against you. I think there was a Black Mirror episode on that. So watch out for that. All right. So prevention partnerships, work with banks, telcos, platforms, community groups. If you know these different people, educate them, talk to them. And we need stronger ID verification, traceability, high risk transactions without over criminalizing legitimate tools. And all of us, we must separate the tool from the internet. AI can protect people. It uses fraud detection, verification, but people weaponizing it make new threats. Our response must be tactical and human. I appreciate you watching today. I'm Connor with Honor at Santa Clarita Artificialintelligence.com. Please check it out. I got a robust blog there and all sorts of information on how to best integrate AI into your business using my AI growth architecture. I'm here when you're ready. I do appreciate you watching this educational snippet here about AI threats, AI safety. And again, at this point, as we're at September 24th, 2025, it's people behind AI that are driving this. At some point in the future, it might be AI driving a different kind of game, maybe winning us out of the way or wanting to improve our lives. Hopefully, it'll be aligned correctly. I'm Connor with Honor. I'll be 10-8 until the next one. Take care, and we'll see you soon.